What's up everyone, Zero here. Welcome back to the channel. I got a special treat for you guys. I was lucky enough to sit down with one of the people that inspired me to create content for ARPGs, which is Raxx. It's a really good way to start off the new year, and I think you guys will enjoy this podcast. It kind of goes without saying, I'm sure if you guys watch ARPG content that you're probably already subscribed to his channel, but if you aren't, go check his channel out. He's a great resource for new players. And if you guys are enjoying these podcasts, please consider subscribing to my channel as well. And with that being said, let's get into the episode. Obviously, a lot of people are already going to know who you are, but just for the people who might not know who you are, can you just introduce yourself and how you got into playing Path of Exile?
Sure. My name is Raxxanterax. Nobody ever says my name right, so just call me Raxx. Call me whatever you want. I don't know. I'm actually pretty new to Path of Exile 1. I started in Affliction League when it was like the most broken thing ever, and all the stuff was dropping. So that was a very interesting experience into Path of Exile, where everybody was screaming, "It's not like this, Raxx. You're going to quit next league when you don't get anything." And no, we didn't quit there. We still love POE 1. So obviously I've been playing POE 2 since the beginning. I thought after playing a lot of POE 1 and Diablo 3 and Diablo 4 and Last Epoch, POE 2 was a bit more user-friendly, new player-friendly, and I actually started at the beginning. So I've been blasting both of those games with Last Epoch a lot recently, whereas in the past I played a lot of Diablo 2, Diablo 3, and Diablo 4, and I've kind of a little bit moved away from it right now, just waiting for the game to, I don't know, scratch that itch, I guess. But yeah, it's gotten a little bit too easy over there, so I like the challenges that Path of Exile provides. So I make content for new players usually, and make leveling guides, endgame guides, crafting guides, mechanics guides, and I stream every day on YouTube and Twitch. That's me.
Right on. I was going to ask you, did you check out the latest season of Diablo 4? Did you ever played it?
I did, and from what I've heard from a lot of people, they are liking it a lot better than previous seasons. So Diablo 4's season came out like 12 hours before Path of Exile 2, and I had already pretty much mentally committed to putting my time into PoE 2. But I did fire up a Paladin, and I tried the new season. I got to the end game in a few hours. We cleared a bunch of pit tiers. So yeah, it was pretty fun. It felt pretty similar to me, so I wasn't quite sure what everyone was so excited about. Maybe it was the new Paladin, but for the few hours that I played, it was actually pretty fun. I was pretty bummed out that they didn't put the tower on the launch. That's what I wanted to do. So since that wasn't there, I hard committed to go to PoE a few hours later.
Yeah, that was a very strange choice. I don't know why they decided to move it, and they did a late night release, which was really weird. I guess they were just waiting for the Game Awards. I guess that kind of just switch things up for them. But I'm going to be honest, dude, I swore off that game a while ago. And I went back and played it. And I don't know if it was just because I had been gone for so long or what it was, but I had fun playing it, man. I even played two characters. I usually only play one character. I'll go back when they release a season sometimes and just kind of check it out and feel it out. But I don't know if you saw the skill tree rework that they had teased. It looked really interesting, and I'm hoping, because that's really what that game lacks, is build diversity. And like playing the same cookie cutter builds every season it just kind of gets really stale. But I'm really hoping that they add some sort of way to like change the way that the skills fundamentally work in that game. I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but I believe it's greater ice shards on the Sorc. It says that it gives you bonuses, but there's no bonuses that it's referring to. Have you ever noticed that?
I mean, I not that specifically, but there's so many like inconsistencies there that. So I'm a part of the internal like partner Discord where we report bugs and stuff. And I'm not trying to say that Blizzard doesn't do anything, but some of them are reported for, many seasons as we patiently wait for interactions to be fixed and stuff like that. But yeah, I agree with you that the comment that I always make is if you take like a bunch of Diablo 4 players like yourself, me, Woody, Rob, or whatever, and you had us all make a Blizzard sorcerer. We have 1 hour to have a planner. You pick your skills, you pick your ultimate, you pick your key passive, and then you make a Paragon board. And then after that hour, we post them all and we all look and see how similar they are. They're going to be 90% the same between all of us because there really isn't a lot of ways to deviate from the narrow path that they have. And the upgrades that you pick for a lot of the skills, it's like, do you want to cast 10% faster or do 10% more crit? And that's the only decision that you're making, which doesn't really actually change the build fundamentally much at all.
Yeah, I think that if they go in the direction which I think that they're going to go in, from the teaser that I saw, I think Woody had posted it. I could have that wrong, but he posted a video where they had showed, I think it was ball lightning or one of those skills for the Sork, and it changed it to fire. And that's what I was always saying. I made, I kind of gave up making them, but I would go back and play, and I would make a video just saying this is what needs to change. And I really hope that they do that and change the way that the skills work and synergize with other skills on the tree. I think if they do that, they'll open it up, and then all they would really need is just kind of like an end game progression system. And I think that it could be a contender, at least for me. I mean, obviously it does way more than POE 2 does because it's a big studio, but I think that it would be a contender for like hardcore blasters that like to play ARPGs like we do, and I think that they could do it. I have faith still. I know it's probably misguided, but I have faith that they can do it.
Yep, exactly as you said. So the way that a lot of the current builds in Diablo 4 get interesting is after you complete the campaign, as you farm the legendary aspects or you find the unique powers, that's when your frozen orbs or your twisting blades or all the other skills can do something interesting. It's all the transformative stuff is built into items, which means that nothing cool ever happens until you find something. So then that forces them to make finding the items easy, because if they don't do that, then you don't get to do something cool. Whereas some of the transformative things need to be moved into either the skill tree or the passive tree, so you can make some decisions without necessarily farming for it.
Right.
So that's what I'm looking for. And besides expanding the skill tree in the expansion, we need some transformative things that aren't 10% attack speed or 10 crit. Like you said, this skill now does fire damage instead and does a completely different thing. Right. Now all of a sudden I can play ball lightning as a fire sorcerer, and now I can do something totally different.
Right. And then the other thing too, I always thought was weird because I played Diablo 1, when it was released when I was a kid. And the other thing that's really weird to me is how every piece of equipment is a legendary item. That was always strange to me. It was like, why don't they still have rare and magic items dropping? But if you look at Diablo 2, I mean, you'll find people that still are rocking like a magic amulet that's like super, super OP. And they don't have that in Diablo. And I'm hoping that in Diablo 4, I'm hoping that they add that. I really think that they should bring back the old rune word system, the way that they had it in D2. That was a winner, in my opinion. And just copy it, just 1-to-1 it. I mean, if they just did that and brought it in, I mean, I don't think anybody would complain. At least I wouldn't. But yeah, that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I mean, famous theory there. Don't fix what isn't broken. The rune word system is pretty beloved by, let's say, most players. The thing is they could have started with that as the base and expanded from it, but instead they actually they like crunched it up. They watered it down, and it doesn't make like its own little rune word. It's just like 2 runes, and it gives you a power, and it's like a generator, and then the active ability. And everyone, I didn't know anybody who was like overly excited whenever they announced it or implemented it. It's like that seemed like a gigantic step backwards. So yeah, I mean, I wonder how many things they plan to like completely overhaul. I got to be honest with you, I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think they're going to completely change the rune word system. However, like you said, the fact that rare items, magic items, white items, all of these like bases have like value in PoE 1 and 2. I actually asked Blizzard when I had an interview with them in November, are you guys actually planning to make these lower rarity items have some kind of value in the end game of Diablo 4? Are they going to have some kind of a journey? Are you going to be able to craft your way up to a godly item someday? And they said yes. They said that is in the plan.
Okay.
Because again, they're hamstringing themselves
Right.
by not allowing these to be powerful, because then it literally is just a bunch of really good legendaries, uniques, and mythic items, or your character's trash, right?
Exactly. And yeah, that was the that I think that's really that I think that really contributes to the how fast like the game gets stale for me, because you really have no adventure with your items. Like in Path of Exile, in Path of Exile 1 specifically, the reason why I love that game so much is there is like a plethora of crafting mechanics in the game. Like if you play SSF, if you need to craft an item, you might have to go farm essences. You might have to go into delve. You might have to go. It's just like, it's just endless, dude. The amount of mechanics that you have to engage with. If you want to craft a super GG item, like you need to engage with everything. And I think that they added something like that to Diablo 4 that could really kind of start to save the game. Well, and this is the thing, dude, with the game. What's the profit motive for them? Like, do they really have an incentive to like play to players like us, you know, like placate to us? I don't know. I don't know if the financial incentive is even there, but I really hope that they do. But, you know, I just wanted to kind of touch on that real quick because, you know, it's kind of nostalgic. Diablo is a big part of my childhood, and I really want to see that game succeed.
Same.
I know that you love that game too, and I don't know. I think that it gets a lot of... it's kind of become a meme at this point, which is kind of sad because I was so excited for that game to drop. I remember playing, I was playing Diablo 3 and just waiting and waiting and waiting once they announced it.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, man. I really hope, I want to put it on the record. I hope that game succeeds. I really do.
Yeah, I think financially the game has been an absolute blockbuster success.
Yes.
There are still a ton of people that still enjoy Diablo 4. I know for sure, at least with Diablo 4, like I've talked to some of the highest people at Blizzard. Diablo 4, they don't want it to be, and I don't think they have the capacity to make it be like, especially like Path of Exile 1, let's say. Path of Exile 1 is this big ocean of 1,000 possibilities and spreadsheets and third-party programs, and there's 6 different crafting methods, and you have to research them all, and this one is more efficient by 30%, so you go do that. They definitely want to appeal to the masses a little bit more, which touches on the point of, is this a game like for you and me? But I've come to accept that in the ARPG space, we have the PoE 1 for the ultimate tryhards. PoE 2 is a little bit lower than that around last epoch. And then D4 is pretty easy. You even have the Souls-likes, which is like no rest for the wicked. Mm-hmm. At this point, I'm okay with there being a broad spectrum here. But it does sting a little bit that in my childhood, I grew up blasting things like D2 and being competitive in D3. And Diablo 4 just seems much more relaxed, much more easygoing, and I just have such a thirst to get in there and, you know, do something. But it's right. After you've done it so many times, it's very, very easy and repetitive at this point.
Right. Yeah. But, you know, hopefully we'll see what happens, man. But I wanted to switch over to Path of Exile 1 because I know that you, like me, we were Diablo 4 refugees, and we talked about this a little off air. And what was your experience like going from Diablo to Path of Exile 1? Can you talk about that a little bit? Like, what was it that you found like that really grabbed you about the game?
So I guess I should start with, why didn't I play Path of Exile 1 all these years? Because people were begging me to do it. It had actually nothing really to do with the game itself. Just to be completely honest with you, I thought Path of Exile 1, especially in the early years, had just the worst graphics I'd ever seen in my life. I just couldn't stand, I couldn't stand to just even play my character. I was just like, I get it. Grinding Gear Games started this in the garage. And Raxx, you don't know how bad it was so many years ago. They've come so far. I get it. I respect it. That's amazing. But that's really why I didn't play. I actually never actually sank my teeth into the game. But when Diablo, I had 55 level 100s in Diablo 4, and I was just sitting there, and I was like, man, dude. And then I saw season 1 and season 2, and things kind of barely changed, or they redid previous mechanics. And I was like, I don't think we're going to get anything new in this game for a long time, and I cannot make a 56 to 100. I can't do it.
Right.
So I was like, all right, guys, I'm going to hard commit here. I'm going to play POE 1 in the next league or whatever it is. And then it was Affliction, of course, where that dropped, that had the little diamond strat with the wisps that you would put in your, whatever those were called, the different tri-colored wisps. And then you just juiced everything. And I guess the biggest surprise to me, I wasn't surprised that I loved the game. I had heard people tell me, Raxx, you'll love POE 1. If you ever just play it, you need to just play it. That's exactly how it happened. I loved all the different mechanics. I loved learning. I love that stuff. But one thing that people warn me about is, Raxx, you better never go play POE, because the POE 1 community is so toxic. You're going to hate them. They're going to hate you. It's going to be the worst thing ever. Bro, that wasn't my experience at all. When I went over to POE 1, everyone's like, Raxx is here. Dude, we'll help you. No, you're doing that wrong. Do this. No, do that. No, shift right click this. No. That's not how you roll a map. Do it like this. And I felt actually very, very welcomed, which I wasn't expecting, and made me very happy. I just loved it, man. I loved everything. I loved the ridiculousness of the league. I loved the depth of the game. I loved the community, and I was hooked immediately, like instantly.
Yeah, I love, I know you had mentioned this before, but I'm also a big puzzle enjoyer. I also play chess too. So I love the fact that it's just one gigantic puzzle that you have to try to figure out. There are so many layers of complexity in the game, and it's, I don't know, stuff like that really stimulates my mind. And even though I play video games to relax, I still have to be stimulated mentally in order to really, really enjoy something. So just the fact that it was like diving into like something like physics, where there's just so many different facets of stuff to explore and figure out and study. And I really, really enjoyed that about the game. And then also just the fact that I sucked at it. That was really cool too, because at Diablo 4, I could just slap together a build and just steamroll the game. And then in Path of Exile 1, I was struggling to get halfway through the campaign on my own, on my own. And so I'd have to like reference some content creators. I think Sladra was one of the ones that I had referenced at first, because he'd do these things every league where he would do these walkthroughs of like, he would just play the game and record it. And then he would explain as he was going through the campaign why he was doing what he was doing. And I think he was playing an Ice Shot Deadeye. And that was the first one I played. So he would have, I don't know if you know the Zenith helm that triggers a spell when you use a bow skill, but he would put lightning warp in there and then hydrosphere. And so every time I would fire Ice Shot, it would warp me around the map with my hydrosphere. And so it was just, it was super, super addicting. And so that was like one of the first videos I made was that. I was like, wow, this game is such a breath of fresh air compared to Diablo 4 at that time, And so, yeah, that really, really stuck with me. And I have not been able to stop since. I play 10 alts every single league, at least, depending. Yeah, so
this guy's a blaster.
Yeah, well, I like it, dude. I like it, and I like what I really like about it is I'll watch other content creators, and I'll be like, man, that looks really cool. That looks like a lot of fun. I want to try that, and then that'll be like another 20 or 30 hour endeavor, and then I'll get to the point where I'm like, okay, and then I'll see somebody else post a video on Reddit or somewhere else on their YouTube channel. I'm like, man, I really want to try that now. So I'll go. If I don't already have a character that I can't respect their ascendancy, I'll create a new one, and then I'll just go. And then that's what happens. And I was stuck on that hamster wheel for a while until POE 2 came out.
Yeah, I mean, the truly amazing thing that grinding gear games has been able to create over the years is just like a giant sandbox for like the ARPG minds. Like
Right.
you could just like spin the wheel and pick an element, and spin the wheel and pick an archetype, and spin the wheel and pick like a type of skill, and then spin the wheel and pick a defense, and then come up with some convoluted way to make it work. And with enough theory crafting and cherry picking enough of the weird uniques where you pick it up, you're like, man, this is trash for like every build. Nothing would use this. But then for this particular build, it's actually incredible. They've just created an environment where so many different builds, so many cool creative things can be made. It's hard to get bored in the game, man. It's hard.
Yeah. What build did you play last league? And I think you played, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you played Righteous Fire, correct?
So I played Righteous Fire in softcore trade,
right?
And then I said I was going to play until I killed Maven. I killed Maven on the second day. I was like, okay, well now I'm going to go hardcore SSF. Let's make it difficult. And then I made a lot of characters. I think I made a Slammer, and then I think I died at like 94. So then I made Righteous Fire again in hardcore SSF this time.
Yeah.
Cleared all through Maven again on hardcore, and he's still alive, by the way. He's level 98, still alive.
Oh wow,
and
that's impressive.
Still alive. And then I made another Slammer, and this time he got to 99, and I killed 4 of the 10 Uber bosses on hardcore. I'd never killed an Uber boss before in hardcore SSF. Wow. Killed 4 of them with Karn's help. And then he like helped me like with his build, and I don't know if you know Karn. He's one of the best players ever.
Yeah, he's great.
He helped me out a lot. And then I made not a smiter, but a kinetic blaster. And then he died. I got really mad. And then I made another kinetic blaster, and he's still alive. I don't know, man. I made a lot of builds. I tell you, man, I love POE 1. I love the game. Yeah.
You sound a lot like me. Or I sound like you, I guess, right? But it's the same. It's crazy. The game is it has a way of doing that, and I'm hoping that, because right now I'm going to be honest. I know Path of Exile 2 is a little bit difficult for me to do that, just because I'm kind of time constrained, with work and my girlfriend and everything. I don't have 150 hours to run that many characters through the campaign. I know that there's people that do it very fast. I'm not there yet. I'm not the type of player that sits there and memorizes layouts. I'm not that kind of person. For some reason, I don't know. I find that really, really tedious, and it's not enjoyable for me to do that. I'd rather just run through the campaign, get to the end game, and then figure out what I'm going to do from there. But what was your experience like when you first made your own build in Path of Exile 1?
I would say it when I started to like mess around with different things on my own, I purposely didn't do it for quite a long time. I would say I didn't actually just sit around and start messing around with my own builds probably for the first 1,000 hours. Right. Because I like when you're playing Path of Exile 1, then a lot of times you'll like get in the end game, and then you'll just get one shot out of nowhere. You'll be like, this game is so stupid. Grinding your games is such a dumb game. I just get one shot out of nowhere. I have health and I have cap resistances and I'm dying. But then, the much better POE players who are watching me, they're like, Raxx, you realize you can actually never die in this game. You just don't understand the game. I'm like, okay, well, teach me. So then you learn about things like cursing. You learn about things like exposure. And then you have to overcap your resistances. Then you learn about why corrupted blood is killing you. And then you realize that you have to have some additional layer of defense beyond all of these things. You've got to have block, or you've got to have evasion, or a lot of armor, or you have to have spell suppression, or you have to have max resistance. And they all you have to have an actual plan if you truly want to stop dying. But then when you plan for all of that, then it either jacks the prices way up, or you sacrifice so much offense that you are no longer as powerful as you were before. So that feels bad. So it just becomes another awesome puzzle to solve. And when you finally get everything and you're frying and you feel like you actually can't die and you have all your layers of defense, then now I can make a build, in hardcore that actually doesn't die you know, everyone dies eventually, but 99% of the time you're actually safe. And so as far as like when I was actually theory and crafting stuff, I had spent so much time studying other builds and exactly how do you build it that by the time I started experimenting, it went pretty favorable for me. But if I hadn't done that, if I had done it earlier, I'm sure I would have made tons of mistakes and probably gotten really frustrated with it.
Right. And then on top of all the defensive layers, then you have to worry about recovery too. Because even though you have those defensive layers, you're still going to get chunked down on whatever life resource you have. And then you have to worry about how much am I leeching and what's my life regeneration like. You have to be able to recover the amount that you've lost. And so it's just like, it's just this endless list of defensive layers that you need. But I wanted to ask you, because you have one of the best Path of Exile 1 videos, and I'll link it in the description for new players coming in, just kind of explaining like the things that you had learned. But what about offensive? Like, what was the first skill that you tried to make a build around?
Well, the first build I ever made was I was following, I believe, Crouching Tuna's guide, and I think it died the league that I played it, and people told me that it would die. They said it's the strongest thing, and it's gonna die, so you got to jump in there right now. So the thing that I tried first was Tornado Shot. I don't know if you ever played that.
Yep, I played it in Affliction.
Tornado Shot.
Affliction was where it was busted.
That's exactly what I did. So I went Tornado Shot, and it was it was 100% offense and 0% defense.
Yes.
And so I'm actually friends with Crouching Tuna. We're like max roll partners and stuff. So I got to cheat a little bit. I got to like ask the man himself, like, bro, when do I actually build defense? He's like, dude, your offense is your defense. So my first introduction to a build was just 1,000% offense, kill everything 5 screens away, and if they happen to survive, well, you're gonna get one tapped, which is honestly not the way I like playing. It absolutely worked in Affliction. Right. I played so much, I actually ended up with like a 5 mirror Tornado Shot character by the end. I had the mirror bow, the mirror quiver, the mirror amulet, and then the rest of my gear is probably like a mirror or two on top of it. So at the end, you just have such insane offense, but I don't really like those glass cannon kind of builds. I like to play hardcore SSF. I have like a personality defect where I just get really, really mad if I die. I just can't handle it. I'm just such a child about it. So that was my introduction, like the first build that I tried to put together, and it was just pure offense. But admittedly, even though it was so effective, it really wasn't my favorite at all.
Yeah, like Crouching Tuna, by the way, he's great. He's just a wealth of information. He was just recently on the podcast too. He's a very, very cool dude to talk to, and he knows a lot. And same with Dreamcore too. I don't know if you've ever spoken with him, but he is just like, dude,
I haven't spoken to him, but I know him.
Yeah, he's just a wealth of information. He's like one of my favorite guests to have on the podcast, just because you can ask him one question and he will just go on and on and on and on. It makes my job really easy to interview him, because I could just ask him one thing and it's like tapping into a well. It's pretty wild. But I wanted to ask you, so, because a lot of people that watch this podcast, they want to know how to make their own builds. And a lot of people hit a wall somewhere, whether it's, they're just dying a lot or they're just not doing enough damage. What tools did you use that really helped? Because you like me are kind of relatively new in the space, right? Like I've been playing for about 4,000 hours. So, and that's new in Path of Exile 1 if you're not familiar. But what tools did you use other than just reaching out to people? What did you find most beneficial? Was it just like Path of Building, or were you using the wikis, or?
So if I'm going to answer the question honestly, the thing that helped me the most is probably something that I guess, quote unquote, normal people don't have access to. The thing that taught me the most about Path of Exile by far, with nothing even close, was chat, was the community.
Right.
I mean, they're watching me, and a lot of these people have 10,000 plus hours. And I'm telling you, every time I did something wrong, or any time I could do something more efficiently, they told me. Or anytime I was building something, you know, on it, they'd like build it with me, and they'd like give me all these suggestions. So it would be criminal of me to say that anything has taught me more than chat. Right. But I guess even if you aren't even if you aren't a streamer, being involved in those communities, like being involved in those discussions, like a lot of people in my chat say, oh, I learned this really cool thing from the guy in chat that taught Raxx that. I didn't know that. So
right.
Just being in the community is the most valuable tool, because almost everybody has tried something along the lines of what you've done. And when they share with you their knowledge, nothing's going to beat that. Yep. But I mean, the obvious answer is Path of Exile has like the greatest third-party tool for the game I've ever seen, like for any video game. Is there a video game that has a better third-party tool for planning your character other than Path of Building? I mean, so. I can't think of one. So it's really just a question. It really comes down to two questions. A, are you willing to use Path of Building? And B, how good are you at using Path of Building? But like over time, and with a lot of my chat's help and watching a lot of videos, you know, I've learned like basic things. Like, I'll just give you an example. This is a POE 2 example, but I think it works the exact same in POE 1. Mm-hmm. I hit level 98 on my plant druid, and I was wondering, what's the best possible node that I could take to increase my damage of any node that I could click? You can open Path of Building and click Power Report. Yep. And you can pick whether you want like combined DPS or you want to do a mixture of defense or whatever. And I said, this is my highest DPS that I could actually path to. Which one would give me the most value? And it actually shocked me which one it actually was, because it was like, I'm playing a plant build, which has nothing to do with Archon. And it was like 10% Archon duration and 15% critical strike damage bonus, which is beautiful for my build. Right. And I was like, I didn't even consider these nodes because they were Archon nodes. Right. And actually, when I looked at it, that was actually the best thing I could click. So, and it does so much for you, even besides with the build thing. And even with besides like actually crafting your own build, it can also find you like your best in slot jewel that's available for you on the auction house right now. People may not know that functionality exists. So
yeah, there's a lot of tools in there, man. It's wild. I don't know, to be honest with you, I don't know who built it. I forget. I've heard his name before. I think it might be even a team of people, but that is literally the best tool I've ever seen ever for any game.
I'd love to hear in the comments that there's one better, but it's hard to beat. And I think it is a team of people, I think, that work on it.
If it is one person, that's insanely impressive, because I don't know, there seemed like there's a lot of work that went into that. Like, if people that don't know what you're referring to, is at the bottom when you have the skill tree popped up, there's a power report at the bottom. And so once you have some nodes filled out on the tree, you can hit power report, and you can sort by DPS, you can sort by defense, you can sort by effective hit pool, I believe. You can do all sorts of stuff, like to figure out what nodes you need to pick to be more tanky or to be more offensive. It's amazing. And sometimes it can be a little bit misleading sometimes, but that's not too often that happens. But yeah, it's a great tool. And then it also has the timeless jewel function too, which is really good. It'll help you find a timeless jewel, which is one of the most complicated. I don't understand why grinding gear games put that in the game the way they did, but it is the most complicated mechanic or item in the game. I think it can be. I don't know why they did it that way, but
it's a bit absurd, I think. The only guess that I have is when they designed that kind of a timeless jewel is they intended you to get it and just throw it in your tree and kind of see what it is, but they should know like how sweaty and try hard everybody is. We're going to make a tool that actually brute force calculates it and optimizes it, whether you help us in the game or not. So now it's just become you either know how to use it or you're just totally clueless. There's really no
there
in
is
between.
a timeless jewel calculator. If you just go in Google and put timeless jewel calculator, it'll be a GitHub page that pops up, I believe, and then it's like the first thing that pops up. But yeah, it'll help you to find them, because that was an insanely complicated item to be putting in the game without having any kind of in-game explanation for it, because every single seed does something different, and then whatever the conqueror is on the timeless jewel, it changes everything, like the complete fundamentals of how the jewel works. It's crazy, dude. There's like, if I'm not mistaken, I'm gonna pull it up just to reference it real quick, but I believe there are 16 different conquerors, if I'm not mistaken. So there is glorious there's more actually. Glorious vanity, lethal pride, brutal restraint, militant faith, and elegant hubris. And I believe each one of these has 4. Yeah, so it's 20, and every single seed. So if you do the math on this, right, I don't even know what the math is. It would be insane. But I believe some of the seeds go up to like 500,000 or something like that. And every single one of those does something different. And so it's pretty wild that they even thought to put that in the game. The fact that they took time to code that and put it in the game is more impressive than the actual item itself, I think.
Yep, and a couple other honorable mentions, not to snub anybody. Craft of Exile, not only for everything, for the simulations, for the emulations, and even the Path of Exile DB database. That's a godly resource. Even, I'll tell you what, I even learned a lot from tools like Wealthy Exile. Yep. That would just analyze your stash tabs, and it would spit you out how much you have. Like on a surface, you like say, oh, yay, here's how rich I am. But like I'd be playing and I'd be like, I want to buy a headhunter and I only have 20 divine and maybe it costs 80. I'm like, I'm nowhere near it. And then chat's like, Raxx, you're way closer to 80 divine than you think. Like, you know how much those annuls are? You know how much that Eldritch currency is worth? I'm like, no, I don't. They go, well, Wealthy Exile it. And then you hit the report and you say, oh, you have 62 divine and here's the breakdown. It teaches you why is this valuable and where am I picking it up and how might I make a farming strategy out of it? So, I mean, the third-party tools for PoE1 just across the board, all facets of it, are actually insane if you want to use them. But then, of course, the counter to that is the game is so complicated that you have to use third-party tools in order to be successful, and that drives some people away. I guess it's kind of like pick your poison, right?
Right, for sure. But for people like us, like people who really enjoy like getting involved in stuff like this, these third-party tools are a godsend. Like I have you can't see it right now, but on the overlay, I have Wealthy Exile pulled up. But if people aren't aware of this tool is absolutely amazing. It'll tell you the breakdown of all the currency that you have based on like gems, currency, divination cards. If you have maps, it'll tell you like, hey, this map is worth this much. And it pulls up your stash tab, and it's also completely free. So you don't have to, I donated to help the cause, but you don't have to pay for this. This is absolutely free. So if you guys aren't aware, go to wealthyexile.com and you can pull up your stash tab, and it'll help break down how rich you are, essentially. But it's a great tool. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a lot of people. I don't know how many people use this. I'm pretty sure a lot of them do, but some of the newer players coming in might not be aware that that's even there. Do you know, are they doing Path of Exile too, or no?
I don't know, but I'm not like I used to be super involved with Maxroll. I'm still affiliated with it, but I'm not involved in like the day-to-day operations. But I know that POE Exchange like partnered with Maxroll, and they've integrated it into Path of Exile. Okay. So you go to maxroll.com and you open POE1. POE Exchange is actually merged there with your account now. So if they're gonna do something in POE2, if POE Exchange is gonna do something, or Wealthy Exile, there might be a partnership there that might spit out the same thing for you. Okay. And cool. I don't know if it's like different with the the seamless trading system that they implemented, but which is another godsend, by the way.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, let's switch gears a little bit, because obviously the new league that just came out was PoE2. What was your experience going into Path of Exile 2? Obviously, we all started on kind of a level playing field. There's going to be obviously people that trickle in, but everybody coming from POE 1 knew nothing essentially about the game coming into POE 2. So what was your experience like coming into the game, just as far as like, did you like it at first? Was it, did you find it more easy to engage with? What was your experience?
So I thought PoE 2, the game itself, like actually pressing the buttons and fighting the monsters as they had it designed in the very first patch, like at the very beginning, I thought it was actually pretty challenging. Like nobody had any meta builds, and I started as a sorcerer, and the monsters were so fast, and they were trying to actively hunt me down. And in a way, I actually kind of appreciated it. But of course, a lot of people in my chat were like, I'm actually struggling here. Like I don't know anything about the game. I don't know how to itemize. People didn't know basic things like plus skills to your wand and your amulet are just so unbelievably powerful. And if you don't have them early, you don't do any damage.
Right.
So I enjoyed the challenge, and I would say relative to a lot of the other community, there were a lot of doomers right out of the gate. I would say toward PoE 2, a lot of them had just come from PoE 1. A lot of them, were saying PoE 1 died for this game. Like, this is garbage. There's so many things wrong with this. Da 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 da. I actually completely understand their take here. At the beginning, even still today, I still think PoE 1 is in a better state than PoE 2.
Of course.
But
yeah,
I think PoE 2 will get there. But I would say compared to what I was hearing around me, I was a bit more favorable. I thought a lot of Path of Exile 2's problems were fixable. It's like, well, the wolves hunt us down too fast. I think they're just way too strong in the second zone when you're playing. Like, you can die in like 2 seconds. Like, maybe we ease up on the gas in the second zone so we can actually, pick up some items. And, they had that heated interview with Zizarin, and then they made some changes to the campaign that make it feel a little bit more fair. And then, of course, as just the community gets in there and they start finding all the meta builds now, whether you're playing grenades or lightning arrow or eye strike monk, or you're playing minions or plants or whatever it is you're doing, now shield wall warrior, there's a lot of pretty good options for you to get through the campaign now and get in there. So I would say overall, I thought like actually building a character was way easier than in PoE 1.
Right.
Not as many defensive mechanics to consider. They don't really have life on the tree. You pick one kind of defense like energy shield and you stack it to the moon. You have your tags on your spells, and then you just pick those tags in the skill tree that buffs you up, like AoE and attack and strike, whatever it is you're doing. You just pick those nodes. So I thought building a character was easy. Much easier than PoE 1. I thought that the game itself was challenging because of imbalances that have in a lot of ways been addressed since then. But I was kind of more favorable toward the game and what it could become than most of my friends also streaming the same game who were kind of mad.
I don't know. I know we talked about this briefly before we hopped on, but it's just really that for me, the only thing that keeps me back from experimenting is how punishing the game is for you to experiment with stuff that might not work, right? So like, for instance, I just put out a video about spell totems in the campaign, not at endgame. I know they work in endgame. I've seen people use builds for that. But it's just, if you want to experiment and you don't have anybody to give you like support gems or uncut like skill gems, and you make a mistake, you could just brick your build, which is a really, really bad feeling, because you might have to, if you don't have an alt, you don't have any more gold to respec. You don't have any more of your skill gems to switch out skills. So you're just kind of stuck. And that's kind of like a feels bad moment for me. Luckily, obviously, I put together a build that worked really well in the end game. And so I was able to go farm gold and respec. But I was thinking to myself, like, what if I got stuck like this? And I don't know. I really feel like that needs to be looked at as far as the game design goes.
Yeah, one common thing that grinding your game sticks on pretty hard is they want your choices to matter, and one way that they make those choices matter is if you want to change your mind on something, they want there to be a cost, right?
Right.
I got a lethal dose of this right at the very beginning. I finally found a sorcerer build that was really good. It was Cast on Freeze Comet. It's really the only thing out of everything that I tried that was really strong. And 10 hours later, grinding your games nerfed it with no tree reset, with
Right.
no mailed gold to us.
Yeah.
I actually didn't have the gold. I didn't have it to respec. And so I just made Ice Strike Monk. I actually just started over. Um, I think over time, those things have gotten more forgiving. More support gems now drop in the campaign. It's probably a little bit easier to farm gold. There's a lot more builds and resources out there
Yeah.
to kind of help you to switch to something else temporarily to dig yourself out of it. But yeah, for a game that's supposed to be very, very welcoming to new players, it's not in a perfect state right now for experimenting, especially when you're kind of poor in the campaign.
Right.
If you don't really stick with one thing and you want to completely change what you're doing, you probably don't have the gold to respec your whole passive tree, and you probably don't have the gems to even change your whole build anyway without a lot of farming with a build that already doesn't work, because that's why you're changing in the first place, right?
Yeah, I was really surprised because I just went. One of my subscribers opened up a private league in Path of Exile 1, so I hopped over there just to play with him for a little bit, and I was really surprised. Like the amount of gold that it takes to respec in the campaign for Path of Exile 1 it's like 3 times less than it is in Path of Exile 2, and I wonder if they did that by design, or if they just kind of overlooked that, because I'm in Act 4 right now with my Spell Totem build, and it's a lot more expensive to respec the character in that game. And I think that the gold drops about at the same rate, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't obviously calculated that, so it's just kind of a feeling. But it's strange because I really wanted to try, and because we were talking about before, when I make a build in Path of Exile 2 especially, I want to be able to take it from the campaign all the way to the end game. I don't want to have to use something else and then respec later, because I find that a little bit annoying myself. So I was trying to find something that worked in the campaign, but I'm stuck right now in Act 4 because I have to go farm gold on my other character in order to respec, and I don't know. I think that they should probably look at that. But other than that, though, what else, like, what's a good way to ask this? What would you say would be at the top of your priority list for things that you would want to see improved in Path of Exile 2?
So I'll give you 2 things. One of them we're already going to get, so it doesn't really matter. I think the worst part about the game is the end game. People are having fun building their temples. Abyss was a big hit last time.
Yeah.
I've made a couple of videos on this, but there's still quite a few things in the end game that just absolutely don't work compared to PoE 1. And I'm not even saying that you have to copy PoE 1. PoE 1 exists, so it doesn't need to be the same game. But again, it's like we talked about earlier with like the rune word system. It's like, well,
Right.
when you have such a great system, why don't you at least start with that and then build upon it? For example, in Path of Exile 1, you have the option in your safe and comfy hideout to pick what your favorite maps are, like Dunes, I call it Dunes, where's my card? A lot of people run Dunes all day long.
Right.
You can run Dunes over and over and over. I mean, just as one example, you're never doing that on PoE 2. You have to move, like, I have to do a Sun Temple. God, Sun Temple ironically is like the best map in the game right this very moment, because the temple entrance always spawns on level 1. So you get like right now, by some bizarre, strange occurrences, it's the best map right now. But usually people hate Sun Temple. It's 3 levels and there's a stupid fire boss with a bunch of RP. So the end game, I think there's like 50 things they could fix in it. They said the new end game is coming next patch. It's going to be epic. That's great. And the other thing that this is just me personally, that I really wish they would take a look at is easing up, at least in the early parts of the game, on the generator spender and kiss curse mechanics. Because It's just for me a gigantic feels bad of, in order to play sorcerer, you need to find a wand with +3 spells, and your amulet has to have it, and then you have to spawn these little infusions or these remnants. You have to find a way to spawn them. Then you have to walk forward and pick them up, and then you can cast your spell, and it gets 30% more damage, and then it feels strong. And the argument always is, Raxx, in the end game, you can automate almost all of that. But guys, that logic applies to every build in the game. Every build in the game with a full passive tree, full ascendancies, full gear, whatever, almost everything works. You can make anything work. The problem is a lot of players' time is spent from level 1 to in the early game. And in the early game, a lot of these mechanics, to me, they feel so punishing or just so unfun. I can get around them. I'm not going to have any problem getting through the campaign. I'll get it done, but I'm not having fun doing it with the state of how a lot of those kiss curse mechanics and a lot of the generator spenders are currently designed.
Right. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. That was my experience with the spell totems, as far as because I watched your reaction video to the Talkative Try interview with Jonathan Rogers, when he said he wanted to add more of the kiss curse mechanics.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and you said you couldn't agree less. So yeah, I'm also on the same page. I think a lot of people are, just as far as like the south side of the tree. There's a lot of that, and that doesn't feel good, especially on some of the support gems. I was noticing from rapid casting 2 to rapid casting 3, I believe it's 10% more cast speed, but then you do like 40% less damage. So it's not like 40% reduced damage. It's like 40% less damage. I think that's right. Let me double check.
I think rapid casting 3, if I'm not mistaken, is 10% extra cast speed for every spell you've cast in the last 8 seconds or something.
I'm thinking of rapid attacks. Yeah, it's rapid attacks is 10% more increased attack speed and 50% less damage. Just wild for 10% more attack speed. I don't know. I hope they get rid of that stuff, because that does not feel good to pick.
Here's the thing. Here's the trap that you and I can fall into, right? We have to make sure we don't fall into a trap. Grinding gear games is probably, I don't know if you would agree or not, I would say they are the best ARPG game developer at giving you interesting problems to solve, which you feel great upon solving them, right? We talked earlier about Diablo IV. There's really not that many issues to solve, which is why to me personally, it doesn't feel as rewarding. So I don't want to tell grinding gear games, hey, grinding gear games, everything should be a one-button build. I should spend no mana. I should not have to pick up the remnants. I should get my 30% damage. Right. There should be no penalties in this game, because if they did that, then they wouldn't do the thing that they're great at, is making these fun and interesting problems. But I think our feedback here is just, it feels very lopsided. Like in POE 1, at the end of the first act, you got Sunder. I don't know if you've ever leveled a Sunder before, but it just fries everything, and you're leap slamming, and you can choose to generate charges with Blood Rage, and if you choose to do that, then you're way faster, but if you don't, it's okay. That's like a good way for charges to feel. But when maybe you're doing your spell totem or something else, and you have to do it to make your build function, and it's really clunky, and you're just sitting there hating your life and praying for the day that this is somehow automatic, I think it's too far skewed into making us jump through too many hoops in the early game. So I don't want us to fall into the trap of, hey, make everything so easy that we don't even think. You know what I mean?
Of course. Yeah, that's actually a really, really good point. Yeah, we want those to be more towards the end game, where it's something that you have to overcome. But when you are dealing with it in the campaign, especially when you're lessening the attack on something like a slam build in Path of Exile 2, they are already so slow that getting that less damage just to get that, because it's really enticing, right? You want that 10% more attack speed, but to get 50% less damage is pretty brutal. So I'm really, I don't know. I'm hoping that eventually once they, because I think that we should see a full release by the end of this year. At least I'm hoping we do. Some people are saying 2027, but I'm hoping all this stuff gets ironed out. Obviously, I don't want to sit here and just talk shit on the game. I like it. I really do.
No, it's just a discussion.
It's It's a beautifully designed game. And Path of Exile 1 is by far my favorite ARPG, so I would really love it for this game to be on the same level. But I pulled up your plant build. So would you want to walk me through? Because this thing looks really, really fun. And if people haven't checked this out yet, you should 100% check this out. And you want to walk me through just kind of how you put this together? What was your what were the choices that you made? What did you run into anything where you were like, damn, I did that wrong? Just for kind of people that were attempting to do kind of something similar. Is there any because this is always difficult, right? This is a challenge for me doing this podcast, because I want to find a way to communicate to people that get stuck making their own builds. What choices did you make to come to this build? What was your experience? Can you just walk me through kind of the journey of how you put it together?
Absolutely. So maybe I'll start just a few steps back about what even made me play Plant Druid, because I wasn't even planning to play it, right? So I tried Druid like everybody else and their mom, and I tried Wolf, and Wolf was okay. And by the way, current day end game Wolf builds rule. They murder everything, right?
Yeah.
People have found out the tech or whatever. Mm-hmm. But just starting out playing Wolf, I was like, man, I'm getting through the campaign. I'm clearing the campaign, but it doesn't feel powerful. I know what a powerful build feels like. I know what Essence Drain Contagion feels like. I know what Minion Infernalist feels like. I know what Lightning Arrow Deadeye feels like. I know what Ice Strike Monk feels like. And this Wolf build does not feel good without Twink gear, or at least with whatever I'm doing. So I switched to Bear, and Bear was, I would say a little bit better, but as you said, a lot slower. A lot of these melee builds are so dead set on going so slow. I mean, bears aren't even slow in real life. Bears are fast as hell. I mean, why is the bear slow? I thought we were trying to go for what it's actually supposed to be.
Right.
The bear felt a little bit better, and people were begging me for a guide. So I threw up my bear leveling guide. I cleared the campaign with it. And I think I started the video. I literally said, guys, this build, it'll get you through the campaign. It's good. It's, it's like oatmeal for breakfast. It's what you should be eating. It's fine, but it's not, it's not a leftover pizza, what you really want to be eating, right?
Right.
So anyway, so then immediately after I clear the campaign, I'm like, I don't want to play this anymore. And then I went to Sorcerer to try the Djinns. And I really was kind of surprised. I could have just read the skills in much greater depth before I leveled it. But when I got into the end game, I was shocked because the Djinns or the genies, they weren't actually, it's a minion build, but they weren't actually with you. They would only attack if you told them to attack. So if I say, hey, water girl, attack, then she would appear and attack, but she's not actually with me doing damage. So I thought that was very strange. I was like, I guess, yeah, you summon a genie from a bottle, they grant you one wish, and then they go away. I guess thematically it makes sense, but I don't know. I've never really played a minion build where the minions aren't actually there, so that was a bit of a miss. And I played plants on Djinn, and I was like, this build is okay, but da-da-da-da-da. And then people like, Raxx, the thing that you're hating about Djinn is there's so many buttons, but I bet you could find a way to automate it if you played plants on your Druid. And then I was like, all right, well, I don't think that's such a good idea, really, because I just played plants, and it was better than bear or wolf, but how much better could it really be? And I go, okay, I'm going to sit here and actually theory craft a Druid plant leveling build, and I planned it out a little bit, and then I started playing, and I was like, oh, I recognized it instantly. I was like, at in Act 1, I was like, wait a minute, this build actually fries. This build fries everything. I'm like, oh, we definitely have something here. And so I was playing, and then Dead Rabbit had already done some theory crafting, and someone was watching his video, and he said, Raxx, have you looked into rapid casting with your vines? And I was like, rapid casting? No, not really. Like, yes, we could throw the plants faster, but certainly it's not going to make them attack faster or anything like that, right? He goes, that's not what Dead Rabbit has been finding from trying it. And I go, okay, let's try it. So I sat here and I sat down and I threw plants with a lot of cast speed and without cast speed, and it made a huge difference. Okay. Like the vines were summoning faster, more vines were summoning. Everything was way better. I was like, then I started to read the tooltips and we were reading it, and I could see some things on Thrashing Vines about how some of the numbers are being manipulated in the calculations. Mm-hmm. But I was like, it's not exactly clear to me why Entangle is hitting so much harder with cast speed, but it's definitely doing something. And then I just talked to Dead Rabbit. He wasn't quite sure either. And he said he thought it was something like the Dark Effigy Totem, which is the single target from Essence Drain Contagion, which I had played before. So I knew exactly what he was talking about. I'm like, okay, so... And the tooltip says it goes way up from casting. So I was like, there's something here with cast speed that just makes these plants murder. Mm-hmm. Then going forward, the thing that we're dreaming of course, on Oracle, we look at you said like you wanted to have a podcast for how you step through the thought process. I was looking at the Oracle Ascendancy, and I knew that I was going to guarantee to be able to crit. So the very first thing that I thought of, loving math problems, is if I'm guaranteed to crit, but every time I don't crit, it re-rolls at a critical strike damage penalty. Mm-hmm. The logical question is, what's the correct allocation of crit chance versus crit hit damage in order to make this build murder? And I was like sitting there just thinking about it. I'm like, this would actually be like a pretty complicated math problem. This is not going to be something you solve on a napkin. And then chat said, Raxx, we already know what you're thinking. Someone made a Python mathematical program and posted it on Reddit for a heat map of critical strike versus a critical strike damage and critical strike chance for the Oracle. I was like, oh my God, yes. So I clicked it. I read through all of that. I looked at the heat map. Long story short, his conclusion is something around 20 crit and 500 critical strike damage. So mostly going to critical strike was the best way to go. So I'm like, okay. And then I kind of looked at the math. I'm not like checking it. I'm not a math professor. I was like, okay, it seems logical to me. So then I started to build that way. How do I get my critical strike damage up as fast as possible? How do I get my cast speed up? And one thing for me as a content creator, my highest focus by far is two things: new players. And so I need to be able to understand what the hell's going on here. And I need to make it very, very accessible for people in my build. And then I want quality of life. I am willing to give up a lot. I'm willing to give up movement speed. I'm willing to give up mana. I'm willing to give up damage if I can make the gameplay so easy, where I can chill, eat a donut with my other hand, read chat, watch Netflix. I want to be chilling. If we're going to be blasting 20 hours a day, I don't want to be playing Street Fighter. Right. So Dead Rabbit had an amazing build, and he's looking up every single possible thing that you can do to add damage, add this button, add this curse, do this, go here. It's even more powerful. But my singular focus was, how do I keep this to pretty much a one button build and make it as powerful as possible? So just a lot of trial and error, a lot of studying uniques, a lot of ideas from chat, a lot of talking with Dead Rabbit about what are you doing, what am I doing, a lot of power reports and POB. Mm-hmm. And then after playing it for multiple weeks, I just my build is so powerful. I just destroy everything. It just feels so good, man.
Yeah, it's an amazing build. It looks really, really fun to play. In fact, I was thinking about, I typically don't try to do this in Path of Exile too. Like I always want to just kind of create my own thing, but I wanted to try this build out. It looks like a lot of fun. So what, I know that a lot of the roadblock for people in Path of Exile 1 and 2 that want to get into making their own builds is the knowledge of unique item interactions. I think that's the right way to put it. Because I'll speak from my own experience. in Path of Exile 1, when I try to create a build, sometimes I'll start on like a journey of creating one, and it just gets frustrating. But I don't know that there's one unique item that I could add to the game or to the build that will make it that works. It just makes it work. So what were the item choices that you made in this? Because I see you're using Headhunter, you're using Night Scale. Like, are there any like special unique interactions in this build, or is it just kind of generic?
My style of build guides, I usually don't make builds that center around unique items, because my goal is to make builds for everybody. I am not like Captain Lance or Spicy Sushi or Connor that make the 5 mirror builds if you want to have enough damage to clear Path of Exile 3. What I try to do a lot is I try to play like someone who is new without a big budget, with just rare items in every slot, and see, when you do that, you actually have a level playing field for all builds. So since I level all builds pretty much like that, I think I have a pretty good grasp on like which build feels better relative to each other, because I'm not cheating by already having the giga unique that makes this one build shine so much more, which you actually wouldn't have on a fresh playthrough.
Right.
The Headhunter is only in the super endgame variant. I have 3 variants: leveling, endgame, super endgame. So usually you just wear a regular yellow belt. The gloves there that are unique, they cost like 1 chaos orb. They cost nothing. And the only reason that we use them is because the only thing that is challenging to solve with the way that I have built it is mana. When you have a long boss fight, you will run out of mana, and these guys have this glove has 150% increased mana regeneration rate if you've crit recently, but we have a 100% chance to crit.
Right.
It solves your mana for 1 chaos. I don't mind putting that in the build. I actually don't even use them anymore. I use just a rare pair of gloves with just good stats. But no, there are no special unique interactions, and Headhunter is just like best in slot for almost every build. Right. Stealing the affix is insane.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to play with a Headhunter. If you guys haven't tried it yet, you should try it. But why did you? I'm looking at the cast on crit setup. So I played a cast on crit Blood Mage that was using Ember Fusillade and Firestorm, but I was using Comet because when you use the Wild Shard lineage support, you just fire like 1,000 projectiles in every different direction. But why are you using Thunderstorm on here instead of Comet? Because I know a Comet is like the go-to for a lot of cast on crit builds.
Fun fact: today I tried putting Comet in there, so you're never dropping Thunderstorm. But I added, it was cast on critting Thunderstorm and Comet at the same time.
Oh, wow.
But I haven't done the actual math on it, but I think it's just worse, which is surprising. And here's why. The plants do so much damage. The plants do millions and millions of damage. And if you water your plants are overgrown, and then they get a lot stronger.
Okay.
So if you actually mouse over the Thunderstorm gem in the POB, it's actually level 5, which is the lowest possible level. So it doesn't even do any damage, and it also doesn't drench the monsters, which is another mechanic. It only drenches if it was level 18. So I'm missing the drench, and it does no damage, and it doesn't apply shock. So why in the world would I do it like that? And the reason is what we just talked about before: mana. The only thing in the universe that will stop my build is if I run out of mana.
Right.
So all I do is I put in a cheapo level 5 Thunderstorm, and it just waters my plants. And that alone is just enough damage. I haven't really been stopped by anything. Uber Arbiter, the fully juiced temples. So This build is really all about simplicity is better. It is, I will say, I tried both cast on crit with Bone Cage, I tried cast on crit with Twister, and I tried cast on crit with Comet. Especially with Twister and Comet, it makes the game so fun. There's just meteor showers everywhere. The Twisters, when they go over the elemental ground, the burning ground or the chilled ground, they turn in, or the shock ground, they turn into lightning and fire and ice Twisters everywhere. It looks so cool. But to me, that the value is not there. All I want is mana. As long as I don't run out of mana, I'm fine. There are a lot of other solutions to this. Like a lot of people go Blood Mage, or they make your skills cost life with life regen, and then they have Leech, which is another path that you can go. But again, the reason why I stuck with this path so strictly is because this is the simplest. I don't have to do any of those crazy mechanics. And as long as the Thunderstorm waters my plants, nothing can survive. Good enough for me.
That's cool. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's pretty awesome. I was using the on my cast on crit build for the Blood Mage. I think it's pretty standard that people use this, but the Aziri gloves, they make your leech instant from crits. So when you're Blood Mage and you have a bunch of spell crit, you're critting most of the time. So as long as you're hitting, you're not dying. So that would be another really good way to build this, actually, right? Is to go Blood Magic and then use those gloves on a Blood Mage. That would be very cool too. I really want to try. Now that you said that, I think that I really want to. You just gave me a really good idea to jump back in and try that same Blood Mage build, but to do it with cast on crit Tornado. Now that Tornado's in the game, so because that spell looks like a lot of fun if you can get it to pick up the elements. Have you tried it yet, or have you just been messing with this?
I've seen people play these cast on crit builds. They're like the best thing in the game, right? They're just murdering everything. They get like their cast on crit comets hit for 5 million damage a comet. That's unbelievable. And they generate them so fast, as you said, on the Blood Mage with the stack spell crit everywhere, or even they play it on the Oracle with the guaranteed crit. Oh yeah, those builds are so beautiful. One thing I want to tell you though, if you haven't thought of this, is I think the elemental ground that picks up for the Twister for your build, you don't even have to think about it as you creating the shock ground or you creating chilled ground. You can actually roll it on your maps. Like area has patches of burning ground.
Oh wow!
I think the they pick it up off of the maps themselves. So you could those different affixes that you might normally hate. Yeah, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was picking up all of those elemental things just from the ground in the maps that I was running. I was like, oh, that's really cool. I turned the negative into a positive.
Wow, that's really awesome. I didn't even know they did that. That's really cool. I saw it in the reveal that they did when they were showing the tornadoes pick that up. I was like, dude, that looks really, really cool. I want to try that. So I just kind of, when you get, I don't know if you're like this too, but when I'm playing the game and I get stuck on something and I have to go switch over to my other character to farm something to progress the other character, I get a little bit of a burnout feeling, even though the league's only like a couple weeks old or a few weeks old now. But I don't know if you're like that too, but I just got like trying one build and then failing and then having to go, farm some gold from my other character. I just got a little bit burned out, but.
Oh, I think that's how most people feel, man. A lot of people, there's a lot of people that enjoy making alts. There's a lot of people that will never make an alt in their life. One of my friends plays World of Warcraft. He's played it for 20,000 hours. Every single time he makes mage. I don't think he's ever played anything else. It's mage every time. So yeah, I mean, if you get stuck, some people are lucky enough to have an alt that can dig them out of it. But yeah, right. A lot of people get very, very burnt out in that situation. I think that's very common.
Yeah. So, what are you working on now? Are you like moving on to another build? Or are you like, do you have anything in mind that you're thinking about?
So, one thing that, the honest answer, I have 500 different ideas. I would love to make, I really like minion builds, again, because they're really good for new players, and it's usually not very many buttons. There's so much tech you can do with minions. Like you can give them, I forgot the name of it, Infernal Legion support gem, which burns their life away, but does AoE damage.
Yep.
So if you just get minions with a shitload of life, they just burn everything around them, and then you just give them a ton of fire resist and recovery, and then they never die either, and it just kills everything.
Did you see
I really like minion builds.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but did you see the build of the week that they did on the Cal Torak has that podcast he does with Dead Rabbit, and they showed this build that was a wolf pack build. Did you see that with Infernal Legion?
Is that what Gazi is doing? Gazi is doing the minion wolf pack thing.
I'm not sure if it was Gazi, but it was so basically what it was is the build. I was kind of getting ready to work when I was like, I had just gotten out of the shower. I was getting ready. So I just had it on the TV, but it was basically the wolves were running through the map and they were burning everything around them and they never died. So it was just like a big giant fire AoE. It looked really cool. I don't know if that's the one he's playing or not, but
I think Wolfpack is the actual skill gem, right? I think he was actually doing the wolves that are generated from playing wolf. So it might be different, but yeah, it's stuff like that, man. And then like there's like the wasp that people are playing, and the wasp are so good as minions because they fly, right? They can go over cliffs and da. Yeah. They don't care about terrain, which is amazing. I'd love to play warrior and mess around with warrior. I'd love to go back to my Eye Strike monk and mess around there. I don't know, man. I'm kind of a loser. I never fatigue from this stuff. Right now, I'm still playing plants, believe it or not. I'm still I've invested a lot of currency into this build, and it could actually get a lot stronger. I think I could still easily double my damage from where I'm at, which is
that's impressive.
Crazy to believe, but
right.
I'm kind of tempted to see how powerful it could get and keep pushing it just for fun. But then I'm also tempted to make something new. I'll probably end up doing both. I don't know, man. I just like playing these games. I don't know why, but I just have so much fun doing it.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's like having a toy chest as a kid, but the toy chest never ends. It's like bottomless. You know? It's just, I don't know. That's how I look at it. It's like, you could just, any time of the day, at any time during the league, I can log into Path of Exile 1 or 2, and I could just make a character, and it's just hours and hours and hours of enjoyment, which is, it's kind of hard to find things in life like that, where it's just endless amounts of enjoyment. I don't know. It's weird. But it's a very cool thing. I'm very grateful to have this game and this community in my life. It's been a blessing for sure.
Completely agree, man.
Cool, man.
I love that analogy. The endless toy chest. That's good.
That's what it is. But hey, man, look, I really appreciate you taking out the time to do this. I know you're a busy man. You stream all day, every day, which is admirable. I still don't know how you do that. But will you let people know where they can find you, what time you stream at, what's the best way to support your content?
I'll be honest with you, man. I feel like I've gotten so much love over the community over the years. I don't feel like they owe me anything. If you type RAX with a lot of X's after it, I'll probably come up. I have the dumbest name ever. Twitch.tv/Raxxanterax, YouTube.com/Raxxanterax. If you're like a newer player, if you want builds where you don't have to press 500 buttons that I actually play and test, that's what I can give you. But no, man, I really enjoyed being here. I appreciate you. I think you are a great asset to the community. I looked at your stuff before we came on here, and I told you, I asked my chat, you guys know this guy? They said yes, they watch your content too. So awesome. They love what you're doing, man. It's awesome.
I appreciate it, dude. And I got to thank you too, because as I've mentioned before, you and Darth were two of my inspirations for getting into content creation to begin with. So I have to thank you for that. And I want to wish you a happy new year, you and your family. And hopefully we get another year of this and good content creation and good releases for Path of Exile too. And with that, thanks again, man, for coming on. I appreciate you.
It's going to be a good year, man. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Cool. Thank you guys for watching another episode. I hope you all enjoyed that. And I have a lot more planned for the beginning of the year. This year's off to a really good start as far as the podcasts and just content in general goes. I want to once again thank you guys for tuning in to these podcasts. It really means a lot that you guys enjoy these. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Happy New Year, everyone. Peace.